and Operations here for the School of Business. And I'm so excited that you've decided to join us today to learn a little bit more about the ACE program. I'm here with a series of colleagues across the business school and beyond to share a little bit more information with you today. We have Marie Balolu and Olivia Francis from the Global and Experiential Education team, and Kate Shannon from Undergraduate Advising is with us here today, and also Kim Rush from the Office for Study Abroad. So hello all, thank you guys for joining us as well. Marie and Olivia are going to keep an eye on the chat. And so, feel free to raise questions as you have them. This information session is really for you to make sure that any questions you have can be answered today. And if they can't be answered today, that we make note of it and get back to you in the future. So definitely, as I'm presenting a little bit of information today, feel free to just drop those questions into the chat. But yes, I'm going to jump right in and go ahead and get us started today. A note on, just the tremendously global community that you're preparing to join. Here in the School of Business, we've always had a priority to provide relevant and rigorous global education programs to all of our students. And thankfully, we've received a lot of recognition for the quality of those efforts. So, we're a place that takes global education super seriously and has been recognized for it. So you can see the Financial Times, propelled us to the top of international rankings based on student perception of global content in their curricula. So we've been named twice in a row, #1 in the US, #2 worldwide. So that's something we take a lot of pride in. But that global focus isn't only on our, study abroad experiences or the contents of our curriculum. We have a really tremendous global student body here as well. And that's something that might have even attracted you to GW, or something you've noticed already in some of the virtual ways that we've gotten students acquainted to some of your peers here at GW. But the School of Business alone is home to students from over 100 nations and 55 US states and territories. So, your experience is going to be global as soon as you step foot into our community. It's something that certainly can't be ignored. But we also know that a lot of students are coming to us for that global experience. So we've worked really hard to develop all sorts of different pathways for global engagement, both here in Foggy Bottom on campus, and also those that will bring students abroad to help them kind of study globally and be engaged. So global and experiential education is a unit in the School of Business that helps to make some of these things to bring them to life. And so I thought I'd share a little bit more about the Global and Experiential Education Office and just what they do. I've talked a little bit already about some of the overseas study opportunities that we have designed for students, but we also help to bring the outside into the classroom. So working with companies and organizations to bring live cases or company projects to the classes that you would take while you're here in degree status. And then we're also out there advocating for our international students at the graduate level and providing some cultural programming for students all over on campus. And then, some of you too, later on, if you decide that the ACE program isn't for you, could participate even in short faculty-led programs where GW's School of Business faculty bring upper-level undergraduates abroad for short-term study programs. So all sorts of different ways that we help folks to, engage with the world from Foggy Bottom and then support you as you're engaging the world from Foggy Bottom. And so I'd encourage you guys all to follow us on social media so you can kind of be the first to know what's coming up. What's also helpful as new students to the universities, you can go back and see some of the program that we've done in the past and how you might want to take advantage of that. So we're going to kick off with some really interesting stuff right as the semester begins. So certainly encourage you to consider following us even right now, since you're already on your computer and probably have your devices in front of you. But let's go ahead and talk to you a little bit more about what you're here for, which is the ACE program itself. So you probably know already that ACE itself is a collaboration for a triple degree across 3 different institutions. So that means that every participant in this program will ultimately receive 3 degrees at the conclusion of their experience. So the pathway to those degrees will bring you to 3 global capital cities on 2 full-year study abroad programs. Students start here in Washington, D.C., then they spend a year in Rome, and then they spend a year in Beijing, and then the students all come back here to Washington, D.C. So students who are participating in this program are all enrolled in our Bachelor's of Science in International Business program and are meeting the same degree requirements as students who are in the BS and IB here in Washington, D.C. for all 4 of their years. And it is a cohort program. So when we say that you will study at 3 different institutions, you'll have an opportunity to build affinity and get to know other people in one cohort because each school is nominating 15 candidates. So we're looking for 15 GW candidates for this year's nomination cycle. Simultaneously, there are conversations happening in Italy and in China where those institutions are recruiting 15 students from their institutions as well. So to talk a little bit about the institutions very briefly, I'm sure you've done a little bit of your research on your own, but the first institution that students would be on outbound study abroad at is Luis University. So it's a top institution in Italy, one of the top institutions for the study of business, but it's also known for its specialties in the social sciences. So, you know, each one of the universities that's participating in the ACE program was really thoughtful in trying to find ways to leverage our own curriculum and our curricular strengths so that we can give students the best of each institution for the year that they spend studying at that institution. So certainly for Luis, their emphasis is on social sciences and politics. So, but in addition to that, they're incredibly well connected with industry. So you can see here, they have very strong ties with Confindustria, which is a network of Italian businesses that are large multinationals that help them with fully global reach. So the perspectives of those institutions are embedded in the discussions that are happening in the classrooms. And it means that the faculty who are teaching at Luis are really closely aligned with what's pressing, what's current, and what's happening. The second institution that you'll be studying at is Renmin University in Beijing, China. So again, another very well known name in global education. It's unlike Luis, which is a smaller, more intimate kind of an institution. Renmin is a really large, comprehensive research university. So even larger than George Washington University by composition of faculty and student count. It's a really selective institution, so also thought to be a top producer of talent in China. And it's a world-class university. So it's focused primarily on future-focused leadership in their School of Business. And that'll be an area of study that you'll get a chance to preview once I talk about the curriculum in just a moment. So I mentioned before a little bit about the rotational format of the program here. Year 1 is what you're walking into right now at your home institution, which is George Washington, but there are also students beginning their terms of study at Luis and at Renmin as well. All students then come together in Rome for year 2 of the program. So the students who were nominated into the ACE program from last year are right now getting ready to head to Italy in the beginning of September, where their colleagues from all 3 institutions will join them. You'll study an entire year in Rome, and then an entire year in Beijing, before returning to spend an entire year back here in Washington, D.C. So you guys will have the leg up, having known George Washington and Washington, D.C. a little bit, and we'll be able to help the students get accustomed. And just like students will be able to help get you accustomed as they welcome you to Luis or they welcome you to Renmin. So I want to walk you through a little bit of the curriculum for what that looks like. And we're not going to go into super, details here, but just to give you a general sense of what some of the kind of themes are in the coursework. I mentioned before that you complete the degree requirements for the GW degree in international business, but you're also completing the degree requirements for a bachelor's in business, both from Luis and from Renmin. So this first year curriculum should look familiar to you because this is really a curriculum that most of our students will participate in the first year of study. So we worked really hard alongside our undergraduate programs office to help to understand how we can make it easy for students to consider participating in the ACE program. But it does mean that you can make it easier on yourself by ensuring that these are the courses you're registered for when registration begins even later this week. But you can see there's all the business fundamentals that we would expect a first-year student to take. And as long as you complete all these courses by the time you begin studies in Italy, you're on the right track and good to go. But the first year is really a base year. The second year You can see that there's courses on European institutions and politics. Remember, I said that Luis is an institution that has a really strong focus in the social sciences. And so they're leveraging that expertise to make sure that they're leading courses that are in their wheelhouse, the global financial environment, doing business in Europe, European institutions. So at the end of year two, you should leave feeling like you have a really strong foundation on the business environment, not only globally, but also in Europe. In year three at Renmin, you'll return to some of the core elements of business, of your business education, things like organizational behavior, supply chain management, marketing, operations, human resource management. But you'll also take courses that will give you insights into Chinese culture and society. And actually, each semester, you'll take an entire course dedicated to that topic. So you'll have a nice opportunity to gain great insights from faculty there about doing business and understanding life in China. And then the fourth year, when you return back to GW, you'll take the majority of your upper level degree requirements for the international business program. So you can see, an extension of some of the coursework that you've taken at Luis and Renmin. So teeing you up for things like strategic management, which is typically a course that's taken late in undergraduate studies to synthesize a lot of the different topics in the precursor courses in business, but also business ethics and legal environment, international monetary and financial issues, international business finance, and then a series of selectives that will contribute towards your international business degree. So the curriculum you can see each year is prescriptive. So you have a sense exactly what's in front of you and when you would take which courses, as well as what courses you would need in order to be making sufficient progress. So in terms of the timeline for where we are, some of you may have already had a little bit of insight into the ACE program from some of the work that we've done earlier to help market the program to you. You might have heard about this directly from our admissions office, from an admissions counselor who talked to you while you attended an info session with them. But we also started engaging admitted students very early. So some of our early decision students heard from me if you attended the open house that was available to you and your parents. This also was presented at Inside GW, and there will be opportunities to hear a little bit more during new student orientation. And then we'll be leading information sessions all through the month of August and September. And then ultimately, the application deadline is October 8th. So you will need to start working on this stuff in the month of September, and you can get some more information from us throughout September and leading into October. But by October 8th is when we need students to submit their complete applications. That just concludes the nomination cycle for George Washington University. That's the first step because you need to be nominated by GW in order to participate in the program. But then each institution, Luis and Renmin, will have separate degree application requirements for those nominated students. And those will be due by January. But don't stress about that now. All you need to do if you are interested in this program is submit a GW application, and then we'll coach you through the rest of those requirements as we approach those deadlines. So in order to participate in the program, I mentioned before that you have to submit an application. That application is submitted in a system called GW Passport. And if you're super globally minded, you may as well get to know the system right away, because this is not only the system that you use to apply for ACE, but the same system where you can look up and learn more about all of our over 175 study abroad options. It's also the same system that you would use to apply for any of these short courses that I mentioned earlier that are led by some of our prestige GW SB faculty. And that application in that system is then reviewed by the School of Business as well as the Office for Study Abroad. And that's how we make the decision about which students are participating as nominated in the cohort. I do want to mention, too, that this program is open to both U.S. and non-U.S. citizens. So students from all over the world can participate. The only consideration is that due to Chinese law, Chinese nationals have to enter the program through Renmin University. We also were really thoughtful when we created this program to make sure that we had access in mind. So flights to Rome and to Beijing are included as part of the program cost. And we also have grants for work-study offsets. So if you qualify for work-study in year 2 and in year 3 of the program where you're overseas and not able to participate in work-study, there are grants available to help bridge those costs. So a little bit more detail on the application process and more importantly, just the next steps of that. The undergraduate students are only eligible for this program, and it's only the class of 2027. So students who have transferred into undergraduate studies would not be able to qualify. And it's people who are aiming to complete their programs by 2027. The applications have to be in. It's a hard deadline of 11:59 p.m., which is a Sunday, October 8th. So you will have that entire last weekend to submit it. Um, the School of Business will review those applications in mid-October, and for a select group, will invite candidates into interviews where and this is not something to be stressed about, this is really just a chance for us to learn a little bit more about your motivations, what interested you in the program, what got you excited about it. And then we promise to return a decision to students in November. So if you do apply, you'll know in November what the status of your application is. And this is just another reminder here that Chinese nationals are only qualified to begin this program at Renmin. And then for financials and billing, this program runs like all of our other study abroad programs. So in all of our study abroad initiatives that are authorized by the university, you pay regular GW tuition, which means that you also are able to carry with you financial aid or scholarships that you may have applied to your GW degree. And if you have access to student loans, those would be the very same student loans that you would use to continue in your degree status all the way through the 4 years of the program. So you pay your regular GW tuition for the entirety of those 4 years. That tuition will include a signature program study abroad tier fee, which includes room and board in all the destinations of study. And then, like I mentioned, your flights to Rome and Beijing. So the Office for Study Abroad will be able to answer some more questions for you down the road if you do have questions about what room and board looks like in those destinations. But the most important thing for you to hear today is that room and board is thought of and included in each one of these destinations. And then I mentioned before these grants for work-study offsets, so that you will have continuity of work-study if you qualify throughout the 2 years where you're out on outbound study abroad. I should also mention too that because the applications to Renmin and Luis will require that you hold a passport and have a passport number, we're asking that every student have a valid passport at the time of application. But we also know that there may be students who have financial need. And so we do have limited financial support set aside for passport applications and the cost that's involved in that. And so if you have any questions, you can reach out to Global and Experiential Education at this email address here, which is SB for School of Business, intl@gwu.edu. And we can talk to you about what that support looks like and how to apply for it. So there's a really great support network for students who are participating in this program, and that support begins today. It actually began earlier if you reached out to any of us with any questions. So I've talked a little bit about global and experiential education. We're really responsible for promoting this opportunity and leading the selection of students who participate. The Office for Study Abroad then carries forward with onboarding. They're the ones that would provide you with orientations, not only logistical orientations, but also cultural about the destinations where you're traveling, and help you to understand any of the travel and logistics specificities you would need to know to be successful, arriving in these destinations to study. So talking you through things like visas and also helping with flights for both of these destinations. The Office for Study Abroad is also the liaison with the partner school, and we work very closely with them on communication to make sure that we're managing a program that meets all of our student needs. And this is last but certainly not least, the School of Business undergraduate advising team are people that you hopefully know a little bit already and will definitely be getting to know in the near term as you make a course selection for the fall. They are your champions to help you understand registration and the courses that you need to take for your degree, whether or not you participate in ACE or not. So, if you are participating in ACE, it's really important that you consider registering for the courses I mentioned earlier today. But the undergraduate advising team is there to answer any questions you have about registration in general. If you are selected to be a part of the ACE program, they're also going to be working with you on progress audits to make sure that you're making the progress that you need, both in terms of registering and successfully completing the courses that you would need to continue participation in the program. And then they're also here as a GW degree seeking student. They're here for you all 4 years, just as we are, and so is the Office for Study Abroad. So I know that you're here to talk. We're to talk about ACE, and I gave you a little bit of an overview of that opportunity. But I also know that ACE is potentially not for everyone, but for students like you who are interested in really rigorous stretches of experiences in global study, I did want to take a moment just to talk about our Global Bachelor's program, which is also a multi-site study program for undergraduate students. So while ACE is an opportunity to study abroad for 2 full years at partner schools abroad, the Global Bachelor's program is an opportunity to spend 3 semesters abroad. So students can either choose to do a cohort term at Nanyang Technological University, NTU in Singapore, which would take place spring of sophomore year, or at Queen's University Belfast in Northern Ireland in fall of sophomore year. So the ACE application is actually due in the fall semester. The Global Bachelor's application isn't due until the spring because that study happens a little bit later on. So that cohort term is just the first of 3 study abroad opportunities or international study experiences, I should say, because beyond that, after that cohort term, you get to choose where else you study. So that could be 2 terms or a full academic year abroad. Or that could be 1 term abroad and then 1 full-time global internship. So that full-time global internship has to be 8 weeks of duration and has to be full-time. So most often that's taking place during a summer term. But no matter how you slice it or dice it, whether you're doing a cohort term and then a year abroad, or a cohort term and then 2 separate semesters abroad, or a cohort term, 1 term abroad, and 1 full-time global internship. This program requires students to do 3 international experiences that are really substantial. This is a great option for students that might want more flexibility, who know that they might want to spend, for example, a semester in East Asia studying at Singapore, but then might want to take a semester in Sub-Saharan Africa and then a semester in Latin America, which are geographies that are not represented in the ACE program. But what unites the Global Bachelor's program is that everyone participating in this program selects a global challenge that's really of interest to them, and that's a global challenge or topic that they then evaluate in every one of the destinations where they study. So this is a program that I teach in, and I've had the real great opportunity to watch students select topics they really care about, like, for example, sustainability in business practices, and evaluate that in Singapore and then in multiple other destinations. And it's really up to you what global challenge you're interested in and how you focus your studies throughout those 3 different geographies. So there's a lot of support to help you make that choice, and then a 3-course series that walks you through how to evaluate that challenge in these different locations. So we'll be having more info sessions about the Global Bachelor's program in the fall and also in the spring semester. So plenty more opportunities to learn about it. But again, we know that students who are interested in ACE often have some interest in Global Bachelor's or vice versa. So I wanted to take a moment just to talk about these 2 programs as well. It's pretty normative outside of these 2 initiatives for students to participate in study abroad during their 3rd year of study. So know too that even if you decide after the info session today or later on this fall that these opportunities might not be for you, we have some really wonderful opportunities for semester or year-long study that you can learn about as well as you work your way through your undergraduate program. So at this point, I would point you to the following next steps. So the first step is definitely to talk to an academic advisor if you have any questions about the curricular matters that I just described to you here today. Everyone who's part of this call should also take a look at your passports, if you have a passport right now, and check the validity date. And if the validity date is less than 2 years, I'd reach out to us to answer questions about, how to go about renewing a passport and make sure that it's valid through the duration of your first term of study. If you don't have a passport, that should not deter you from participating in this program. That's actually a great first step. And if you do have financial need, reach out to us and we can talk to you about how we can help out with some of the expenses for the passport application itself. And everyone should leave this webinar remembering October 8th. October 8th is the last date to submit an application, but you're free to submit an application much earlier than that if you feel like you're ready for it. So we're here to answer questions between now, October 8th, and even beyond that. But certainly I want to open it up to questions today. I'll leave this slide up. There's the email address for global and experiential education and for the Office for Study Abroad. A reminder about the social media, ways to follow us on social media and to get a little bit more information about the international community that you're joining, as well as additional information about ACE, future information sessions, and ways to get more information. But I would encourage you all to submit any questions you have in the chat here, and I'd be more than happy to answer them. And again, a thanks to my colleagues for joining us today from the Office of Study Abroad and undergraduate programs, as well as global and experiential education. All right. And it looks like maybe we did too good of a job here, sharing information about this opportunity for students. And Cecilia, so sorry I didn't see you while my screen was minimized, but I see Cecilia Bonazzi has joined us as well, who's the new advisor for signature programs in the Office for Study Abroad. So those who have questions about ACE that are going to the study abroad will likely hear directly from her. So thank you so much for joining us as well.
Thank you. It's
Great.
good to be here, and it's good to see potential new students.
Yes, absolutely. Great. All right. Well, I won't keep people on. If there are no questions, we can close it out today. And don't worry if I was going pretty quickly through some of this stuff. This session is being recorded, and there will be future sessions as well where you can join and get a formal overview like this, or just pop in as well and get some questions answered in more of a drop by fashion. So happy to go ahead and let people go to enjoy the rest of their day or evening. Looking forward to seeing everyone here on campus in Foggy Bottom soon. We're very excited. We're working really hard to get ready for your arrival. So thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your day.